Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here. Sunday the 31st of January 2020. Right, back on the Fury SS again, and in this video it's going to be a case of focusing on just bits and pieces jobs to tidy lots of things up in preparation for a full electrical test, and then following that a full oil circulation test. So without further ado, let's just have a quick resume. So first things first, the last video we were installing the carb operating cables, and if you remember, there's a slight issue with the throttle cable, because the throttle cable is the center one there, and we've got actually the wrong short cable between the carb and the junction box, which is here. So we haven't got any adjustment on it. What I've put in there are adjusters, but they're incorrect really, because they're not screwing into the carb top. There should be ferrules here with inline adjusters. So choke side is fine, but the throttle side we need to change. So we're just going to take the flip the carb tops off, sorry, and get the slides out and replace that cable, because cables have arrived, and this is the one that we want. So as you can see, it's got an inline adjuster. It's short. It's got a tiny little nipple on one end which goes into the junction box, and the usual tiny little nipple on the other end, which is correct, which goes into the slide. But also, more importantly, here at this end of the carb, if it focuses, let's try and get it to focus a bit. There. That's got a proper sort of mini ferrule end on it, which slots properly into the carb. And you can see it's shouldered, whereas the normal end on a cable is like so. So these are absolutely correct. So that's a good pattern piece for a change. So got a couple of those. So we'll do that first. That's the small cabling job on the throttle. I'm going to replace probably the top end of the cable as well. We'll see, I'm not sure yet. That is the right type of cable at the top end, but it's a little bit short, which is why we've got no adjustment on this. But we'll see how that works out. So I'm going to need to take the twist grip off as well, but that's easy. So other bits and pieces that we need to do to tidy up. So we've got to tighten this up. Kickstart. What we've got to do is we've got to grind a slot in the kickstart shaft, so that bolt will go through and screw in. We've got to check all the nuts and bolts are all tight. Rear engine plates I've got to do up properly yet on both sides. Front tyre needs inflating. Cables need adjusting. We need to make sure we've got right oil quantities everywhere. I'm pretty sure we have in the gearbox, but I need to check the primary case. We've got this engine plate to do it properly, and just to check this fitting here, because the nut on the back of this bolt is very close to the chain, so I might turn that around so the bolt heads the other side. Might have to do that. The chain guard needs fitting properly, because it's only on loose at the moment. It's on at the back, but I need to refit the bolt at the front, because we had a bit of a job putting that chain on, but that's all done. And then we can also check at the back here, because I know there's a number of things loose yet, and to tighten up on the rear mudguard. But then we can probably put the seat on. So the seat's going to be easy to fit. There's one hinge on the seat already, so we'll slide it onto one of its hinges. I think the back one's on, and then you just insert the front one, and obviously with the way that the hinges are set there, then that just keeps the seat on. And then we've got the cable stay to put on the seat as well, to stop it swinging too far over when you open it, and what it would do then is actually damage the side panel here. So a few bits and pieces like that. We'll also check around all the wiring as well, because as I say, the first test we want to do is the electricals, because what I want to do before we do the oil test is I want to make sure that the oil pressure warning light and switch is working, because we'll use that as an indicator then that we've got oil pressure when we do the oil test. And to do that, I'll use the rollers, which are back here. So I've got electrical rollers, same ones that we used on the Lightning. And we'll sit it on that and try and run it at a pretty low speed, and then we'll be able to check that firstly we've got oil pressure with the oil pressure warning light. I'll be taking the cam cover off so we can check oil is getting to the top of the motor and returning, and also we'll be able to check that it's returning back to the tank as well, all in one. So those are all the sort of bits and pieces jobs. Oh, the other thing as well is once we've done the throttle cable as well, we'll just begin tidying up all the cabling. I've got clips temporarily in place, the proper metal ones, but we'll just tidy this up a bit more. Also at the front of the motor as well, with the oil pressure warning light switch cable, tacho cable. We've got the speedo cable to fit. So lots of bits and pieces of things to do. One thing that's a little bit annoying is this separate cable that I've had to run, and that's for the starter button on the handlebars, because what we've done is modified a wiring harness, probably from the bigger twins A65. So obviously they don't have the requisite cable, so that's why there's that separate cable there. I don't like it too much, but it's what we're going to have to do, and that's what we've done. Right, first things first then, let's get the throttle cable out and we'll get this sorted out. Right, we've got the throttle cable off, and you see what I've fitted with these, and they're really for the choke cable, which doesn't need adjusters really. It's not so critical, but these are what we need. And there you can see the difference with the ends, the proper ferrules with the shoulder, rather than these that slot in the top of the carb with no adjusters on the carb, which is correct. So let's just get those swapped out and we'll get them installed. Right everyone, oh, we've got there, but that sort of mess here sort of says it all really. What a job. Right, I've got it done, and everything is on, adjusted and working properly. So we've got a bottom cables on with adjusters and everything buttoned up at the top as well. However, to get here I had to first of all take the inners out and replace them with the longer inners from what effectively are choke secondary cables, because the inners were too short, and you know, even with the adjustment slackened right off, there was no way I would be able to get the slides on, and the slides would be halfway up the carbs with no adjustment on the cables. So I had to swap the inners out, which involved obviously lots of soldering and messing about. And then with the top cable I had to put a longer adjustment in. Luckily I had one, because there was still quite a bit of slack on that. It wasn't too bad, but it just wasn't right. So we had to take the nipple off the top end of that and mess about. So all in all, it's taken a long while to sort that out, but we're now there, and It works really well, and there's plenty of adjustment at this end and at the top end as well. And there's the junction box, and the slide is in the right position on that. So we got there in the end, but what a palaver. And I don't know, it just substantiates my view that basically cables and the original part numbers that people are putting on some of these cables, they're all wrong. They're all over the damn place. But anyway, we got the job done and done a bit of tidying up. Now we can plough on then with some of the other just little bits and pieces jobs, but the next thing that I am going to do actually is one thing I didn't mention during the lengthy introduction, and that is that we haven't got the HT leads yet on the carbs. On the carbs, God's sakes, on the coils. And this is another job where these take a bit of a tortuous route. So they'll come out, and then we need to try and thread them underneath and along here, because I want them to run on this side of the bike, so that the route goes down and across, because the spark plugs are angled that way. So that's what we want to do. So they're easy enough to make up. So I'll do a bit of tidying up over here. But anyway, we've got HT lead. We've got spark plug caps. They're not really originals. They're the champion ones that were OEM at the time on certain models. But the proper ones of the time were, God, let's get rid of some rubbish. I need to tidy up. Were these very plain ones, and this is an original. Trouble is, I've only got one, which isn't any good really to anybody. So that's why I'm going to make some up. I've got enough HT lead, copper cord, and at the other end we've got I've got some originals to pop into the proper terminators to pop into the coils, together with the proper rubber cover as well. So I'll just get those made up, won't take too long, and put on the bike, and I'll show you the outcome of that. But it's just, essentially just cutting this to length once I've threaded it through, and just screwing on the plug caps and pushing these terminators in for the coils. Right, okay, HT leads in. So with the clips at this end, they actually are like they're an interference fit, but they do have a ridge on them. So once you put those brass clips and bend them onto the end of the HT leads, they do actually slot in, and then they're a push fit in, but they actually click because there's a ridge on them. So you've got to make sure the ridge is in, and it'll stay in solid then. So that's all good. Routed them through. Okay, underneath this spar, there they are there, and then they drop down nicely onto each of the spark plug caps. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. So that means then I've been able to tidy this up, put another tie here. The tool tray does now just fit in there. It's quite a snug fit with those wires there. There we are, she's in. But yeah, she is, that's it. I just have to move that along a little bit, look. There we go. Okay. That's tied up there. Tied up the cables here now, which is good. So it's all looking fairly neat and tidy, I think. So what I've also managed to do as well, in your absence, so that you avoid all the swearing, is I've managed to fit the chain guard. And the awkward, I don't know whether you can see it, I've got a torch handy, no. Just in there, right at the back, there's a bolt for the front mounting, and with a bit of deft use of grease, I managed to get the nut on the other side of that small bolt. Let me just see if I can show you. Pretty standard fare on British machines. Where are we? Let's get my bearings here. There it is. See it there right at the back. And you can get it at it from the other side with extension bars, etc. So that's pretty good. So that's on. The chain guard rear mounting is on. It goes on the back of the shock mounting. That's all tightened up. So now I've just got a few mudguard bolts to tighten up. It's all a little bit loose at the minute, but let's nip all those up, and then we'll be just about on our way, I think. Right, back end all buttoned up, absolutely solid. Checked around all the other nuts and bolts, just one or two bits and pieces to do now, but just to finish off then, I'm going to put just lay the seat and the tank on the top for now. And we're beginning to get there. Still one or two bits and pieces to do, but running out of time today. So we've still got the kickstart to sort out, just to put a slot, grinder slot, small slot in the shaft. So the bolt will go through to hold on the kickstart. And also just to finally button up the rear engine plates as well. Just need tightening up. But we'll set the tank and the seat on now, and then we'll come back at a later date, do one or two jobs, and then we'll test the electrics now we've finished those off as well. I have also tidied up the cable as it should be, so one metal strap. Also tidied up the top here as well, so the clocks, you know, are clear. Haven't put the speedo cable on yet, oh, actually. So I've got to do that, dig one of those out. But anyway, coming on, so let's just get the tank and seat on and see what she looks like now. Right, there we go. Now I've tidied up the cables, how they're supposed to be under the tank, and sorted the tank rubbers out. The tank fits a lot better, a lot snugger, whereas before it was struggling a bit as to whether we might have a bit of an issue at the top here with the top yoke. That needs doing up. Hitting the tank, but it's going to clear it now, and we can adjust the stops anyway, the steering stops down here, so that should be all right. So yeah, nearly there. Right, we'll leave it there for this one. I think that's going to be long enough. Thanks everybody for the usual interest, comments, suggestions, corrections, interest as always, and for any subscriptions. And what we'll do in the next video is we'll just tidy up a few more bits and pieces, and then we'll grab a battery and we'll begin testing the electrics out. So that'll be in the next one. Okay everyone, see you again soon. Hope everyone's safe and well, and we'll leave it there. Cheers up everyone, bye bye.